myself. Thanks, Lois.
Right.
And we'll have lots of time for questions and discussion at the end, so you can ask away. So I know for those of you who signed up, you've also probably seen the extended bio. So just briefly, so Tyler is a teacher at Crestwood Secondary School, and he's also a coach for hockey, basketball, and lacrosse. Kareth works at the Trent School of Business and supports students in work integrated learning opportunities with local businesses and organizations. And myself, I work for Ontario Parks Marketing as the Senior Philanthropy and Partnership Specialist, but I'm here mainly because I've worked with student volunteers since 2004. So, with that, I am going to pass it over to Tyler. Just need to stop sharing. Give me a moment. And I have lost the plot here. 1 second. Did
Sometimes it
everything
happens.
well other than how do you stop sharing? Oh no.
It's okay. Maybe I can just share it. It pops up as
Yeah, let's do that. My apologies, Tyler.
okay.
I
That's okay.
was
Is mine up
actually,
now?
Mhm.
there we go.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. No problem. So good morning, everybody. As mentioned, I'm here to make a presentation through the lens of teenagers and how we can engage teenagers. I have career-wise been a French teacher, which means I've taught grade 9 French for 20 years. So 20 years in a row. I've spent 10 months with grade 9s. And so I have seen the evolution, the social evolution of their behavior and what to expect. And that's exactly what I'm going to explain and show everyone this morning. Okay, so engaging teens. Uh, the relevance. Most volunteers in the community are 55 years and older. This is true for every community in the country. That's demographic has more time, and they're from a previous generation, and they are the ones that are out in the community the most and volunteering. Which means as they age and phase out of volunteering, there aren't enough younger volunteers filling their roles. That's unfortunate, and it results in full organizations folding as well as some initiatives, which is obviously disastrous, and we need to fix it. Communities need an infusion of youth volunteers. It's extremely important in today's world, especially due to COVID. COVID has turned the entire volunteer world upside down, and everybody is building from scratch. And there's no better way than to start grassroots, getting young teens involved. Volunteering is a great thing for youth to experience in so many ways. As I go through my presentation, I'll explain soft skills, skills that adults assume are innate and exist in all teens, but they do not. Um, how to maintain conversations, eye contact, positive self-talk, everything like that needs to be reinforced. And there's no better way than through volunteer experience. We need to establish volunteering as a lifestyle as well. It should just be part of everybody's, um, once a year, it's expected they do this initiative just to start with, just establishing a lifestyle. Um, and high schoolers in Ontario, they need 40 hours of community service to graduate as well. So more on that in a second. What some people don't fully realize, a high schooler begins the day they graduate grade 8. So July and August between grade 8 and grade 9, their hours count towards their 40 hours of community service, which is important because I could just mention not everybody is fully aware of that fact. And it's a summer before they have part-time jobs. They're not old enough to work at Tim Hortons, McDonald's, and so why not get them out volunteering? And the definition of a community service is right here. It's meant to be unpaid volunteer work that benefits the community. It's more of a service. It can't be helping a business make money, helping their dad or their mom at their place of work. Will not count. It has to actually be a service that benefits the community. So one thing I want to mention today is just exactly how to communicate opportunities, how to attract some of the teens. Um, I just want to speak to our website. Volunteer Peterborough's website has an awesome feature here. You'll notice on the side there's a yellow school bus. When an organization posts their opportunity through the Volunteer Peterborough website, they can select an age minimum required for their opportunity. And if the age requirement is in the youth category, a yellow school bus will appear on the post. So when a youth um, volunteer goes on the website themselves and tries to find opportunities, it's a quick way for them to see, oh yes, that's for me. I can do that. The example I use is the Peterborough Music Fest post, perfect for teens to help out at. And there's a yellow school bus right there, making it easy for them to access. Posting on Instagram and Facebook is also essential. Facebook is only for moms and dads and guardians and adults. No high school student uses Facebook at all, whatsoever. They make fun of me if I even reference Facebook on any kind of assignment. They're more TikTok, Instagram, but because Instagram and Facebook are connected, they will see it on Instagram as well. So if you want to reach just the teens, Instagram, and if you want to reach their parents, reaching their parents is essential, and I'll go over that as well. Contact local youth groups, youth sports organizations, or local service clubs, Girl Guides, Scouts Canada. The local youth sports organizations is key. You can make it an initiative. They can be in competition against another team in that league for any kind of service participation. It's been really successful in the past. And contacting the high schools directly. So school guidance departments with opportunities to post is also essential. Every high school in Ontario runs their volunteer opportunities through their guidance department. So you would just have to contact the school, get a guidance teacher, guidance counselor contact, and move through that way, and then they would post on the school communication board. I just want to explain how, first of all, how I became involved in Volunteer Peterborough. It was for the Porch Pirates food drive through a local a food share organization. They were in desperate need of volunteers, and me being a high school student or a high school teacher, knew I had an army of students ready to go, ready to be activated. Um, so the Porch Pirates food drive, different houses in the community put a bag or a box of donations on their front porch, and members of the community go around to the porches, collect all the donations, and bring it to a centralized location. It was perfect for my school and my students, so I made it into a school initiative. So making it into like a competition, a big kind of event is key. Um, I got the parents involved, so I contacted the students. Like I went around to classrooms and talked to them in the hall. And the student will always tell you, yes, sure, that sounds great, I'm in. The one of the sayings in high school, you can lead a horse to their cell phone, but you can't make them click. Um, they're on their phones all day, but even if you know they just won't click on it. And That's one of my slides coming up. You just have to accept that. So you tell them about it. You ask them to tell their parents. Whether they do that or not is who knows. And then you have to hit the parents with an email blast or a post. So any teen, even ranging from grade 8 to 18, they need their mom, dad, whoever else at home involved, and they need them nagging them in order to participate. I made Facebook and Instagram posts, like I mentioned. We made it into a contest. We had a Jays trip at the end, and we had a list of community engagement opportunities available throughout the year, not just the Porch Pirates Food Drive. And there was a limited number of seats available on the buses to go to the Blue Jays trip. And the students that checked the most amount of boxes off for community engagement qualified for the trip. Um, and the difference in the school with kids running around trying to get opportunities was incredible. Compared to years past. So that's just my experience, and it worked out. We ended up for the Porch Pirates food drive. My school was responsible for over 50% of the entire city of Peterborough's routes, so it was a tremendous success. So I'd mentioned before, Facebook and Instagram, essential. What to put on the posts? You have to clearly state that the opportunity is for youth age volunteers. I would recommend if your opportunity is for teens and adults, make a couple separate posts to hit the separate age groups. Make a youth aged volunteer post specific to that age group. State that the hours can count towards their 40 hours. If a parent is on Facebook or on Instagram, sees that post, sees the 40 hours, they'll immediately get on their on the kid. Um, Clearly state the duties and responsibilities expected of the volunteers. That's one theme that I need to express. Is clearly state all the duties every single time what they will be doing so they know exactly and they can prepare and list the skills and benefits of the opportunity. The youth they need to actually see the connection and what they will be learning, not just it's a good thing to do, it's good for your heart and the community and everything like that. They need to actually see the skills and benefits that they will acquire through the experience. There are barriers for youth-aged teen volunteers. Transportation is a significant barrier for young teens, obviously. Not every opportunity can be on the public transit route or bikeable. Um, and they're relying on an adult or a senior youth who has their driver's license to drive them around. Um, Sometimes it's a lot easier if your opportunity is available for or if you make it as easy as possible. Sometimes bringing the opportunity to the teens, to the school, to the arena, to the recreation center where they're already there, is probably more successful in attracting more teen volunteers. Teens are very busy these days, or they think that they are too busy these days because they're being told they're too busy. And their time management, obviously, they're working on time management. So having your opportunity days and times flexible to get around all their sports and all their personal activities and everything they have to do um, helps. Some teens are looking after their younger siblings. This is a really big barrier. A lot of teens live in mixed homes where they might have had a parent start a second family with younger children, and they're actually responsible after school for looking after these younger siblings. So they don't actually have um, a lot of time available. Um, so making any kind of virtual service would benefit a lot of the teens as well. And I have here some teens would prefer to volunteer with a friend. I would say most teens would prefer to volunteer with a friend. So having that capacity to have any kind of task done with the teen and their friend would be beneficial as well. If you are successful in actually getting the team to click on that link, you need to communicate clearly the next steps with the volunteer and their parents. So always copy the parent on an email, exactly when they need to contact you. Not, I'll hear from you soon. That never works. Please contact me tomorrow by 5 p.m. if you're in or not, and what duties you want to actually be responsible for. And then make sure the team confirms the date and time, like as soon as possible. And if they don't, then you have to reach out again. It is annoying, but that's another recurring theme. It's just it is what it is, and that's how you have to roll with it. Um, and like I said, have a detailed list with duties ready to go for the teen volunteer. Make sure they have a checklist. And they know exactly what their duties that day are going to be. Supporting the teen volunteer. Um, this is you're just gonna have to pay attention here. Do not make phones a big deal. The teens are it's a volunteer opportunity. It's a volunteer experience. The teens associate volunteer with obviously they don't have to do this, and they will act like they're doing you a favor. Um, and you just that's how they initially will behave. They will have their phones out, and if you, it's really annoying. And but if you crack down on the phones, they will not. They'll stop volunteering. They'll quit immediately. Um, Teens, um, it's due to video games. The ability just to, it's not going my way, I'll just quit and I'll turn it off. And that's their mentality. I am completely generalizing. There are lots of teens that don't fall in this, but this is like I'm telling you, don't make phones a big deal, or else they'll leave. You can block times and just say here, go nuts for this phone break. Um, but yeah, give them a social media duty. They love this one. Can you go around take pictures for me? Can you do some posts for me? They don't have to have access to your account. They could create posts in draft form and send them to you. Most teens love doing that, actually. One way to make sure they're not on their phones is just make sure they're busy enough with their hands that they don't need to use their phone or talking to people as much as possible. Continually ask them lots and lots and lots of questions to keep them talking. That also engages them far more. Expect to repeat clear instructions um, over and over again. It takes a while, and then they'll get there. Expect fluid punctuality. This is also really annoying, but it's fact. They'll be a little bit late here and there. There'll be last minute cancellations. It's best to have them with a buddy, with a friend. Like I said, the chances of both of them not being available are slimmer. But just expect a little buffer with volunteers that's going to happen. Okay. Um, and yeah, it is what it is. Extrinsic versus, well, I was supposed to say intrinsic. Extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. Again, social media and video games, they're always looking for that like, that follow, that reward. And they've just been trained that way since a very young age. And so the intrinsic motivation isn't there, but it can get there. It just isn't there initially. They need lots and lots and lots of encouragement. Um, they need a lot of reminding the impact that they're making. This is helping so much. They just need to be reminded that, and then the intrinsic motivation will start to kick in. Um, and you need to focus on the team's potential. That's my biggest message. Not how they're behaving in the moment, because it's not always their fault. But just realize that they can get there, and that you're going to help them to get there. And just yeah, that's my message for everybody. So, and that's it. Thank you. I will stop sharing.
Thanks, Tyler.
No problem.
Do you want to go ahead and share, Kareth?
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Tyler, for that presentation. I love just the practical support you offer and advice you offer and the realities around phones for sure. So I'm going to be speaking about university students who are maybe a little bit further along in their journey towards, developing those soft skills. But, Tyler touched on this. The pandemic was really tough for young people. And we're seeing the sort of impacts of that at the university level as well. So a lot of those similar considerations need to be taken into account when we're thinking about university student volunteers. But we are getting towards a little bit more of a development of those soft skills and an understanding of, civic duty and how this is going to potentially impact their careers. So yeah, it'll be great to sort of tie in some of what Tyler shared with my presentation. So what I want to share first and foremost about universities is that Trent as an institution, I'm from Trent University School of Business. Trent University makes it as an institution a goal for every single university student to graduate with experiential learning as a part of their degree. So I'm going to just take a stab and say every single college and university across the country is probably doing the same thing. They are now, experiential learning has been kind of a buzzword in the university in higher education for 10 15 years now. It is recognized as a key component for graduates to have a lot of the skills that they need beyond their academic skills. So it's an opportunity to engage with your colleges and universities and your communities, because I guarantee there's going to be a number of programs that encourage volunteerism or some kind of placement or co-op or internship opportunity where you can engage as an institution. So, I'd like to highlight some benefits, of course, of hiring university student volunteers. There are so many. University students are so incredible in that they have fresh ideas and innovation. They often are familiar with emerging technologies and current trends in technologies. They're starting to use AI. They understand how to, make use of that in different ways. So if you're an organization that needs support with those kinds of pieces, university students are often just super keen to get involved in sort of new tech and bringing some of their new ideas to the table. It can increase your capacity at no or low cost. There really are so many opportunities to put university students to work, and it's going to benefit you and it's going to benefit the student. It also creates a talent pipeline for future hiring. So this not only invests in the students, it invests in your organization. This is you developing your future employees. So if you think about it that way, it really is an opportunity to see what kind of talent is out there and start to develop that. And then, they can potentially be future employees for you. It's also a bit of a low risk trial period for people that you might be interested in welcoming into your organization long term. It enhances community engagement. So if you partner with, local universities and colleges it starts to build those networks long term. And this is really important for sort of bridging that gap between universities and colleges and the broader community. We want to create stronger ties with organizations in our communities. And there are so many ways that that can be done. And so, pay attention when, universities and colleges are reaching out and saying, we have this amazing program. Have a look at it, see what kinds of opportunities there are for you and your organization. Uh, there's access to specialized skills with university students. So they can often bring very fresh, discipline-specific knowledge. So if you are working in sort of the health field, you can connect with a nursing program at a university, and there might be student volunteers who are super keen to get involved in, perhaps something related to MS Canada that they can, not only provide their sort of fresh perspective on, but it also builds their resume in their specific field. Positive brand and social impact. So it's important for organizations to demonstrate that they're committed to, building community, building healthy, strong communities. So, this is an opportunity for organizations to demonstrate that. It also demonstrates a commitment to mentorship and youth development. Energy and enthusiasm. So students can often bring that kind of high energy, curiosity, a desire to learn, that can be really motivating for everybody on the team. Sometimes we can feel, I think, stuck in our jobs or we don't, we're not inspired every single day. And if we're having young folks come in to learn about what we're doing, it can reinvigorate everybody on the team. And then finally, an opportunity for mutual learning. So staff can mentor students, but in return, students can teach staff about new tools or methods. And this leads to that kind of reciprocal growth that is so important and so beneficial. So I'd like to talk about some best or promising practices when working with university student volunteers. So first and foremost, clarify goals and expectations. So what we often do at Trent University is we say, these placement opportunities that we offer through the School of Business, yes, they are unpaid. Yes, it is volunteer, but it's a job. It is a job. That is the expectation of the student, that they treat it like it is a job that they're going to put on their resume. And if you clarify that with the students right from the get-go, it does change, their perspective and their sort of approach to the position. So outlining tasks, responsibilities, the time commitment, and expected outcomes is really important in that clarification sort of period at the very beginning. You want to align it with their learning objectives too. As I said, if they're a nursing student, for example, you want to understand what it is that they are wanting to bring to the table and what it is that they would like to learn from you. It's really helpful to create a job description that is something that the student can have in hand to understand, okay, this is my defined role. It is, and it also helps to reinforce the notion that this is a job. This is to be taken very seriously. Number two is establish clear communication with university students. So what can support this is first and foremost setting up an onboarding or an orientation with students. So introduce the organization's mission, introduce the organization's staff, policies, volunteer expectations. You want to also designate a supervisor or a mentor for that student. You want to have that one person that the student knows they can go to if they have a concern, if they have a question, someone that they can check in with on a regular basis. And holding those regular check-ins, it does maintain a feedback loop. It supports that ongoing conversation between your volunteer and your organization. And it just makes sure that there is that ongoing sort of maintenance of the role and relationship. So number three is offer training and skill development. So, even basic training at the very outset of a role, where you talk about safety, in the organization or at the event. You talk about communication skills and what is required, in the role. It can really boost, university students' confidence and effectiveness if they have that initial training that gives them a foundation to sort of step off of. It's also helpful to include reflective components for students. So if you offer them an opportunity to give you feedback or to, offer a midpoint, in whatever their sort of time span is with your organization, sort of a reflection piece about what the experience has been like for them. What are some challenges? What are some skills that they've developed? It gets them to engage in the experience that much more. And to let them know that you're going to ask them for that at the beginning, sort of prepares them to get into that mode, as they're volunteering with you. Four, so foster a meaningful experience for the student. So we often, say like involve them in the real work that you're doing. Show them that you have a level of trust with them, that they are capable and they are able to take on a meaningful task or project that is, really going to support you in your work, and that it contributes to the organization's goals or the organization's mission. Encouraging creativity is another aspect of a meaningful experience for a university student. So allowing them to bring their ideas, especially if they're working on things like social media or outreach or events, those are opportunities for students to really shine and just have some fun with it and, start to engage with the position. And then, of course, celebrate their contributions. So this is a really big piece. If you're going to foster a meaningful experience for a university student, really recognizing just what they're doing, on a daily or weekly basis, it helps them to feel confident in that role and that they're growing in that role. So even little things like a thank you note or offering a reference letter for the student, it means a lot to them. Five, build partnerships with volunteer institutions. So again, collaborate with universities, colleges, and volunteer organizations like Volunteer Peterborough. Work with placement offices or service learning programs, or organizations that, are there in the community to really foster this sort of sector, this work, that's ultimately going to create a more resilient and strong community. So develop those relationships, stay in touch, attend these kinds of seminars. It supports that ongoing relationship. That is going to be easier for your organization to engage on an ongoing basis as you have perhaps staff changes at your organization. Understanding student calendars is really helpful. So if you understand a university student, has 2 terms, sometimes 3 if they're studying in the summer, understanding that they're often, broken up into 3 or 4 month, sections. And so thinking about your yearly projects and how you can create projects that are going to work with those time frames. And then, evaluate and improve. So collect feedback from students and staff to strengthen future placements. And another one is to be inclusive and supportive. So, we want to always be considering accommodation and accommodate diverse needs. So just be mindful of accessibility, mental health, transportation needs, or other student barriers that might exist with your particular organization or event or position. So This is part of cultivating a respectful culture as well. So ensure that the volunteers feel safe, they feel valued and respected by the staff and clients in your organization. So I truly believe that it takes a village. Hiring student volunteers creates stronger, more resilient communities, not only immediately, but into the future as well. So, if organizations have the capacity and the community focus as a part of their kind of organization's mission, I believe that organizations can consider hiring student volunteers, high school or university, as part of their civic responsibility and to build it into their organizational culture. So I just want to touch on the business placement opportunities at Trent University. So we connect with organizations in Peterborough and area with fourth-year business and economics students who work in part-time volunteer positions for 100 hours. So this is a part of their course load. They get academic credit for this. It is fall and winter terms and summer as well, which is condensed. They're, pretty keen students. They have to have a 72 average. And they essentially have an opportunity to interview with organizations, and then you select a candidate. So we've had the opportunity to work with Hannah through Ontario Parks for a number of years, I believe, Hannah. And so that's, just another demonstration of those relationship sort of that build over time. And now there's, a level of trust from Hannah about the university students that we're able to offer to make Ontario Parks as an institution stronger. So please do consider opportunities like this. This is what we have at the School of Business, but I can almost guarantee every single college and university across the country have these volunteer oriented programs through their institutions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Kara. Thank you, Kareth. I will share my slides here. Give me a moment. Interesting, I'll say, and I might skip a few parts. We, as volunteers, Kareth, Tyler, and I developed this separately, and it's interesting to see that we actually have some of the same tips as we go through this. So it shows that what we found to work in many different situations. I'm going to touch briefly on, I was thinking back on the number of organizations and events and things where I've engaged students. And I started with the Heart and Stroke Foundation in 2003. And this was where I really gained much experience in working with young people. We had a lot of mass events and walk events and golf tournaments. And while it is, there's a lot of changes in the past 20 years in terms of youth and adults and volunteerism in general, there's still some good practices that I find to this day. So I've worked with I've worked with a business program at Trent, the nursing program, and the School of the Environment most recently, as well as different programs in the college, and engaged a lot of high school students, both with working with them in co-op placements and in large events. I myself did co-op in high school, and then I went on to do co-op in university. I think that's where I have a passion for giving back in this. And one thing I'd like to say is that in all these years of doing it, I've had problems, like, significant problems, maybe a handful of times where I may have had to say a student couldn't volunteer anymore, or, with any situation. And I've even also, I was thinking of this during the presentation, worked with students who are doing restorative justice. There's been some periods where they were having to volunteer for that. So I've seen all types and areas of students, and they continue to motivate and inspire me. So a little bit about recruitment and selection as well. Some of this I've worked less frequently with high school students lately, but I'm still engaged with them to a certain extent. I would also suggest doing interviews as much as possible. I find that this can reveal a lot. And it's more really a chat as opposed to an interview, but I think this is helpful for students to get this experience. I also think that you can create job titles that look good on a resume. This is really, I can't do this in my current position within the government. We have one job description for every student or volunteer that comes through, and that's what we have to use. However, sometimes this can be appealing to get students to have something that, is a clear benefit to them. You can ask them simple questions. I would also suggest sharing interview questions in advance. This is a practice more and more common even in all types of interviews, but especially with students. So you put them on a not feeling as nervous as what to expect they're going to be asked. My favorite question is to ask what they hope to get out of volunteering. I find this can be if you're looking at recruiting from a selection of students like for a placement, but even in general to get people thinking about what they want. And I often will tailor the job to each individual student that I work with. So even if I have a selection of jobs or 2 or 3 job descriptions, I will tailor it to what works best for that student so that we both have a better experience. So some overlap here with orientation and training. Taking time with it and encouraging a slow pace to start. I would say for the students that come in to do placements, if it's 1 day a week, I'll have at least 1 or 2 days where it's just full training and learning as opposed to getting them to jump in right away. For any, students that are longer for several months or a longer period of time, sometimes even a week or two of doing some training. There's lots of free training webinars and other things because I've been focused on fundraising and charitable work. And sometimes students come in without that knowledge, especially international students in some cases. There's lots of ways that they can get that training that helps them get up to speed with general knowledge and also, again, is something they can use on their resume. Introducing volunteers to everyone. This I find is something that we forget this sometimes even with volunteers, right? That they come in and just do the task and leave. But I find if you get them to introduce them to everyone, try and introduce them to some senior managers or whoever's head in your organization, it helps them understand the importance and feeling included and that it's not just, a meaningless task. I try and engage any volunteers to attend our team meetings or group training sessions as much as possible. This is one benefit within my current role because it's within the government. There's a lot of training sessions that students can do. So sometimes it balances off that we can't give them as many juicy tasks within government because some restrictions, but the training can be of huge benefit to them. And also if I've had other students or other newer staff, I engage them to help assist with training and orientation and finding that enthusiastic person. I'm more skilled on some of the planning and working out the tasks and tracking and accountability. So I'll often engage some of my colleagues to do a tour of the building or ones that are more enthusiastic in certain areas. So they're getting a full taste of it. So there's always someone that they have as a regular contact, but they get to work with other people, which I think helps as well. Again, this is dependent on the student. Again, as Kara said, explain the big picture of what they're doing and why. Because often I know I'm assigning a task, sometimes it's clear, if you're doing a food drive, that's pretty clear what the benefit is. Sometimes I'm getting someone to create a spreadsheet, which can be mundane, but I always try and explain what they're doing and how it fits so that they don't think that it's not important work. I try and get my colleagues to help delegate tasks. And where I am now, because it's not a typical nonprofit environment. Some people I know have said, oh, I've had a bad experience with students. And, they don't want to work with them, or they've had 1 or 2 bad experiences. So I'm trying to build that trust with getting other people engaged with, how can a student help you, for a day or a few hours, and trying to build that trust. Because I think I see that in organizations in the community as well. They feel slammed or overwhelmed. They're like, I don't want to work with a student. I don't have time. We'll get your colleagues to help. It doesn't all have to be on one person to do this. Again, as Kareth and Tyler mentioned, they can be better at some technology. Definitely exceeding my knowledge at this point in my career, and but shared documents and something that, again, they can have a way of participating and being a part of it. Flexibility with scheduling has been something that is important. They should put school first or family first or their own health first. So volunteering, if you trust them that they have the ability to come to you to make changes or make requests, that will help as well. I also, one thing we do a lot is, encouraging students to ask questions. And sometimes if they're not comfortable, we'll use Mentimeter, which can be a free tool for people to ask anonymous questions in a meeting. And this sometimes helps if there's nervousness around asking what they may think is a dumb question. And again, this point about buy them a coffee or an ice cream in the beginning or do something small to thank them. I mean, Domino's Pizza here in the Peterborough community has been someone that's donated for tons of things I've done. And these are small things, but hey, I mean, someone buying me a coffee will still be appreciated at this point. So I think students to have a treat to thank them in some way is important. And trying to share, ask them to reflect or write about their experience, share it in a newsletter, or just sharing internally with colleagues and teams. This can be a small thing, but it means a lot to a student, even just writing something that we can use with the next incoming students. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a few students I've worked with. These are quotes from them. This is one student I worked with at Trent when I was there. And I find that asking students to share testimonials, it benefits us as the organization because we can share that story out. We share them for volunteer week stories or just share as materials we may use for recruiting other students. But it does help the student think about what they've done and how it helped, and that participation in that ongoing feedback. So this was someone who, didn't have much knowledge about nonprofit, but really felt that this might be something that is a career that would be something they can explore. This is a student I recently worked with at Ontario Parks, and I had to, there's one thing about students, even if they're international students of a certain age, I had to laugh. We had one of those big snow days where, we had a lot of snow here. It was a much colder winter, and Yash would still show up some days with like cropped pants and sneakers, canvas sneakers on those days. And I'm like, all youth have that in common. They still have this ability to ignore the cold and still go out without proper footwear and coats. So it's funny, even being international students, they have this same bond once they're here. But international students are often wanting to have Canadian job experience, but they come in with not as much knowledge perhaps of the community or how charities work, but they're so tenacious and resilient to have come to another country and still be willing to come into these environments that can be intimidating for the best of us. And these two individuals are my colleagues that I recruited to help. They probably worked more with Yash even than I did, but such a great experience. And another international student we worked with who did a placement, who her first time out in a park. She'd never been to any of our provincial parks, and the one benefit we get in our job is we can get the students out into a park and make s'mores in the middle of the day as a photo opportunity. But these are, again, small things that help the students feel integrated into the organization. So to not only focus on the work they're doing, but also to focus on also creating good future prospects for hiring. There's a huge unemployment crisis in younger people, but there's also a challenge in organizations such as the government in finding and placing young people. So it's good to build those good connections. So a few things I think I found that are the most helpful, even after all these years of working with volunteers, I still learn things about how to improve. I've learned things today from hearing from Tyler and Kareth, and I still try and challenge my own expectations on what to expect. I find that the students can help me be optimistic, but I think it's important for us to be optimistic about working with youth and giving back and helping host them. I've found a lot of students really struggling to find volunteer placements, to find opportunities to volunteer. As much as we struggle to find volunteers, sometimes they want to and they just don't know how. So we need to be patient with ourselves, and we need to be patient with young people who are trying to find their way in this world right now. Allow for mistakes. Students are going to make mistakes, and so are we, and we need to, learn and grow from that. And I would encourage everyone to not give up. If you've ever had a challenging or frustrating experience working with anyone young, try again. And this is one of the things about, people like Tyler who are teachers, Kareth or other university staff and faculty. They're there to help and support and answer questions. And so lean on those supports as you're working with students and finding ways to engage youth. So I am going to end there and thank everyone for being a part of this today, but I want to make sure we leave time for questions and to get back to that screen sharing, because there we go.
So Liam had a good question. And I know Jane had one that she wanted to address, but we can send her the answer.
Yeah, that's good. There was a question, and maybe Tyler, you would even know this, TikTok and Threads, whether those are, I would imagine TikTok is within the provincial government. We are not allowed to use TikTok. So, and I myself have stepped back from a lot of social media. So I'm welcome to anyone else to field those questions about those other platforms, TikTok or Threads, and how effective they are.
Yeah, TikTok is popular as well. Almost more popular in a way. I just recommended Instagram. Every kid has Instagram as well. They have both going and Snapchat. Snapchat is probably the number one app that all teens use in the Peterborough area, anyways. But it's not necessarily, great for communicating opportunities. But so they have all three open all the time: Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. Threads can be useful as well. I mean, it's tied in with Facebook and Instagram, and I don't hear that a lot. About them using Threads. It is mostly Snapchat. But like I said, they have Instagram and TikTok open all the time as well.
So I'm a TikToker.
Yep.
So I will tell you that one of the tips that I've found very helpful, if you're going to do something on TikTok, make it like a behind the scenes or really visual. Like you have to be doing something. You can't just talk to the camera. You have to be like, look what we do back here in our program that you don't see, the public doesn't see, and try to like make it a mystery kind of thing. Use the right hashtags and keep it under 40 seconds. Preferably less than 20.
Wow.
Make sure you know exactly what you're going to say and start with, and don't millennial pause. If anybody knows what the millennial pause is, it's that second you take to breathe at the start of a sentence.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to edit it out so that you are talking as soon as you flip up on their screen. Yes. So that's fun. Yeah, were there other questions? I want ice cream now. Thanks. Yeah, no, this is great. You guys have shared so much good information. Does anybody else have questions that they want to throw out there for people?
Yeah, you can put them in the chat or ask them verbally if you want. Anything you want us to go over. Or you can welcome to share any tips or successes you've had as well. I know Carly, Maria, were you from the MS Society as well? I think I know I've used to do the MS walk with a team, and I know that's one where we've seen a lot of young people behind the scenes in those events. Even just helping do cheerleaders and or clapping the walkers as they came back in. Those small things can really help an event. And I remember at Peterborough there was, and then the bonus is you have a lot of leftover food and ice cream to help share with those students too. So
that's good.
Yeah, we're with MS Canada, and most recently, this is both our first years with MS Canada, and I was supporting the Vancouver Walk earlier, like a few weeks ago, May 25th. And it was really, really beautiful to see so many young students show up. I would say probably some high school students that are looking for service hours, and but also a lot of college students, no? And yeah, like the energy that they bring in is always so contagious and effervescent, no? And they turn out to make like really dedicated volunteers. Like I feel bad that they get such bad rep. I've worked with youth for many years in different capacities. And right now I'm trying to engage more youth for our upcoming MS Bike event that's happening in Chilliwack in 3 weeks. So it's been really helpful to hear from you guys, to hear from everyone, no? Like the Girl Guides, the Scouts, like different ways of approaching them. So thank you.
Girl Guides, yes, that's a great it's a great organization too. And anything that can have, an adult mentor or leader that brings the students or works with the students or reminds them, I think, thanks, Jackie, is I think of great help, right? And you think about how often I know, in my own personal friend group, how often I have to remind people in my group of where we're going and what time.
Yeah.
So and those are full grown adults. So you definitely need to do it more for anyone younger. I think we all need those. But I know myself, when you think about what young people have gone through between COVID, what's happening around us politically in the global sphere and climate warming, I still think young people are still showing tenacity and resilience in all of this. They're developing ways to deal with things that we don't always understand, but I think when you can tap into that, it can really be of huge benefit.
Yeah. Carly, we can see you now. Did you have something you wanted to chat as well?
No, I was just going to tag on to what Maria Cecilia said just about the influx of younger volunteers. Certainly in my walk event as well this past May. Um, and how wonderful our high school volunteers were. They were phenomenal, and our university volunteers, but we had a lot of high school volunteers, and they really just were up for anything and fantastic. And the communication with them ahead of time and afterwards, like was mentioned in this conversation, was really important just to keep reiterating what was necessary, but I think it led to a great experience for them, and they made friendships with people that they hadn't met before, and were passing along their Instagram handles. I'm so bad with anything social media, so this was really important for me as well to consider, and also that piece of uh, like thinking about having them create social media stuff for us. I hadn't considered that, and even leading up to potentially creating a volunteer position for younger people to do that. We have lots of recruitment that we're doing on social media platforms, and I am not an Instagram girl, not a I just use old books, so and barely at that. So that was a good tip.
All right, if everybody's good, thank you so much for joining us. I think it's so neat. We've all learned from each other, and let's engage these people. Let's fire up the volunteer sector and do our part to get more people to love it as much as the rest of us do. How's that? Thank you to everyone who came this morning. Thank you to the presenters. You guys did amazing work. Really, really grateful. Love the hearts, Hannah. And hope you all have a fabulous day.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks so
everyone.
much. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone.